Hello, everyone. My name is Sriram. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Arista Networks for our campus portfolio. Um, Good morning and welcome to all the delegates. Welcome to all of you that have joined us online as well. Today, we are super excited to be back at this Mobility Field Day. And this is one of those events where we are eager to share some of the latest and the greatest that we, the product team, have been working on over the last 1 year. And it's going to be no different this time. We have some really exciting topics lined up, pretty full agenda. I will kick it off with a quick overview of what's new at Arista, and then I'll hand it over to our beloved founder and CTO, Ken, who will talk about Arista quality process and how we are integrating Wi-Fi into this paradigm. We have some really interesting results to share about Wi-Fi 7 based on some field experiments that we have done. Over the last 1 year, since we presented last time, we have made significant enhancements to our our cloud-based NAC solution. We'll provide a quick update and wrap it up with a quick demo of our latest troubleshooting capabilities on our AI Ops platform. With that, let me start with a quick overview of some of the key milestones and achievements across the Arista Enterprise portfolio. First off, earlier this year, we launched our Universal Observability platform. Essentially, this platform ingests performance data from the network. It also brings in data from compute and server nodes, creates a context, and provides deep insights into application experience as well as end user experience. So where is this useful? So assume that you have a user connected on your wireless network, and say this user has a poor experience accessing an application sitting in the data center. And for a second, let's assume that the issue is not because of the network, but really because of something happening on the workload where the application is hosted, right? So how do you bring in this context and know what the root cause of the poor user experience is? Today's system, the data from both these domains are completely isolated. They don't talk to each other, so you cannot share the context. And this is exactly what UNO is set to solve. It brings data from multiple domains into a single system, into a single context, so it can help you answer why the users are having poor application experience and point it back to that issue in the data center. Second, last year we announced our enterprise WAN routing solution that's built on top of EOS, providing a consistent operating model across data center, cloud, campus, and WAN. Third, a couple of weeks back at RSA, we announced that we have expanded the capabilities of our micro-perimeter segmentation service, and this really strengthens our zero trust networking solution. So our MSS is a consistent and single architecture for segmentation all the way from campus to the cloud. And what I mean by that is, if you want to segment the devices attaching to your campus network, like your printers, your video cameras, your IoT devices, your medical devices, corporate users, BYOD users, or if you want to segment the workloads in the data center, now you have a single framework on which you can make that happen. And our segmentation solution does not require any proprietary protocols, no proprietary tags. It doesn't require you to modify the packets. It doesn't depend on any endpoint agents. So it is network agnostic, and it works on top of any multi-vendor network environment. Fourth, how can we not talk about AI? In the recent quarterly earnings, our CEO, Jayshree, mentioned that powering the network connectivity for the next-gen AI workloads is one of the key growth drivers for Arista over the next couple of years. And we are seeing tremendous success in this domain. In fact, very recently, a big, large cloud titan and AI titan, a customer of ours, wrote a blog where they mentioned how Arista is powering the network connectivity for a 24,000 node GPU cluster based on our 7800 AI platform. And finally, I cannot not talk about Wi-Fi. We are in Mobility Field Day. So we recently launched our enterprise-grade Wi-Fi 7 access point, the C460. That's going to ship in summer. We'll talk more about this in the later sessions. All right, so this is our blueprint for Arista's architecture for next-gen campus design. And the foundation of this architecture is EOS, a common operating system that extends all the way from data center to campus. So think of this. You can have a single image, a single binary image that you can download and install on the smallest of a platform, the compact switch, to the largest 800 gig AI platforms. And we are taking some of the core design principles of EOS and integrating that into our wireless operating system. And Ken will talk about that later. On top of EOS, we build the network architecture using the same leaf spine design that we pioneered in the data center. And with this, customers can rely on a tested and validated design, something they have already orchestrated in the network, reduces their learning curve, and they can leverage all the automation tools that they've built in data center in campus with this architecture. Second, as we move up, the network data lake is our common, NetDL is our common network data lake engine that ingests telemetry from across the network and creates a foundation on which we build a lot of our network services. So last year, we talked about Ask Ava, our AI-driven chat engine in the context of NAC. Now, we are building Ask Ava as a common AI engine sitting on top of Cloud Vision, and it will be ubiquitous and available to all the network services that we will build on Cloud Vision. And finally, you can see how we're bringing all the services I talked about in a unified, consistent architecture. So for some of our large global, Fortune 5,000 customers, they typically start in the data center. It's a natural extension for them to get into campus wired, bring in Wi-Fi. And what we do is we actually make it really easy for our customers to consume these network services on top of our platform. Think of these as just Lego blocks that you can drop in anytime into the network. And the beauty is we ensure that these services also work on top of a multi-vendor network environment. All right, okay, so this is a quick preview of what we're working on. I talked about how we're using bringing Ask Ava to other services. This is an example of bringing Ask Ava into a segmentation service. So essentially, the operator can ask a question like, hey, show me all the policy violations, and use the chat interface to understand what the policy violations are, why the policy violations occurred, understand the root cause, troubleshoot, and fix the issue all through a generative interface. All right, so last, I just want to mention that we take feedback that we get from this delegate forum very seriously. I know from the last mobility field day, there were a couple of open items and open discussions. I want to take this opportunity to kind of close loop on some of the things that we discussed last time. So first, on the wired Wi-Fi integration, if you recall, we did a quick demo preview of MVRP. So essentially, in a network where you have VLANs for wireless clients being assigned dynamically, we showed how you can use MVRP to automatically configure the VLANs in your wired network. So we have that in the product today. Second, I know there was a discussion with some of the delegates about roaming in an EVPN fabric. That is something we are actively working on right now. On NAC, last time we talked about that we are working on terminating ETLS on the AP in those situations where the NAC might not be reachable, right? We have that in the product today. It's in beta. It's going to ship in the next version. And we chose to terminate ETLS on the AP and not do it on any controller because, as you know, our architecture is completely controllerless, right? We think this is more scalable, this is more fault tolerant, and doesn't have a single point of failure. I know last time there was also questions about hey, do you support TechAxe with your Cloud NAC? Yes, we do. This is one of the top questions we get asked from our enterprise customers, especially as they are migrating from the legacy, from their legacy solution, be it Cisco, ICE, or ClearPass. We now have a TechAxe support on Cloud Vision. We have done some very innovative things to make it work, and we'll dive into details in the later session. On AIOps, there was also asked about supporting EPTLS, where the multifunction radio on the access point can be converted to a client, and you use that for client connectivity test. There was an ask to support EPTLS. We have that today. And finally, and there was a very specific feedback about when we were talking about our hierarchical management. There was a very specific feedback about can we show your sites in a map? We have that today. We can tag sites with geo coordinates, and we can place those sites in a map with site health. And that'll also something that we'll show later today. So with that, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for all the feedback that you've given us over multiple field days. Please keep them coming, because this definitely helps us shape our roadmap, shape our what we're working on, and we really look at you as a proxy for our for our voice of the customers. So with that, I'm going to invite Ken to the next session.
All right.
Thank you.
Kisram. Thank you all so much for coming to this. My name is Ken Duda. I'm one of the original founders of Arista Networks. I'm the company's CTO, and I run the software team here. And I am very delighted to talk to you about Arista, its quality journey, and how that relates to observability. I love questions. Please interrupt. The more interactive this is, the more fun I have. So I appreciate that. So it's been 19 years now. We've been at this. And over that time, our focus on quality has been a constant across that entire arc. What has not been constant is our company's, the way our company is received by the industry. Because when I started this, we started meeting with customers, I try to talk about quality, they'd say, yeah, kid, that's a nice story. I'll believe it when I see it. And then as we refined our message and increased our market footprint, I started to get a lot more, tell me more about that. I want to understand what is it's better, how does that work? And then it became like, I was talking to my buddy, I've heard your quality is better. Like, how does that happen? And now when I'm talking to customers about this, people who are not yet customers, prospects, Arista's quality reputation is well established. Tell me, how do you achieve that? And so it's been so gratifying to see that that penetration. And with EOS, it is the gold standard of quality. I believe our quality is not 10% better, not 50% better, but more like 90% better in terms of bugs, outages, disruptions, just the pain that buggy network code causes to network operators and all the people who rely on the network at those organizations. So it's been a great journey, and there are three factors that drive software quality. Number one is the architecture of the software. Number two, how you test. But number three, and most important, is the culture of your organization. What's important to you? What do you talk about when you're talking about your company? To customers, to the field, also internally? How do you prioritize? How do you make trade-offs? How do you guide others in making trade-offs? Why do you come to work every day? And the culture of quality is paramount at Arista. And the fact that I am here talking to you today, that Sri invited me to be the first speaker to talk about quality, is itself a reflection of the culture of quality. And the culture comes from really three places. First is the fact that quality matters to the customer, right? Like, obviously, if the network's not working, nothing's working. It's a disaster, right? So quality is very important to the customer. Quality is important to our business. Our penetration of enterprise networking has really been driven, first and foremost, by the fact that customers know they can really count on our stuff. And when they're having problems with other vendors, we're the ones they call. But third, and actually most important, is, at least to me, it goes beyond customer relationships. It goes beyond the success of Arista's business. And quality, to me, is an ethical issue. It's just wrong to ship stuff that doesn't work, to ship stuff that causes people so much disruption and pain and and just, what are you doing? Like, didn't your mother teach you anything? Make that thing work. You know what I mean? So I would not be willing to work at a company that didn't deliver the kind of quality that Arista delivers. I just find something else to do, honestly, because I wouldn't be able to accept that that's the way we treat people. So quality comes down to actually ethics at its core, and that's part of the culture of quality as well. So it's now been almost exactly 6 years since we decided, hey, we've been very successful in the data center. The year is 2018, right? We've been very successful in the data center. And we had customers literally coming to us and saying, hey, you guys, like, this stuff's working so great. Can we please give us something for the campus? And we realized there's a huge growth opportunity for us in campus. And what do we got to do to succeed there? Well, we need the right kinds of switch hardware, right? PoE, smaller switches, all that sort of thing. But there's no campus solution without Wi-Fi. We're a bunch of data center people. We didn't know anything about Wi-Fi. So like, we looked at, okay, we could try to build this organically, but realized this is just not a good strategy. And we're much better off acquiring some actual Wi-Fi experts. And we found this company Mojo in Pune in India, and loved the people, loved the architecture, loved the product, and it just felt like a really good fit. I talked to them about how they were doing testing, and well, they were doing testing the way everybody else does testing. I thought, well, that's going to have to change, but everything else looks really great. So we went ahead and did the acquisition. And then when I flew out there in 2018 and got in front of everybody at Mojo at the time, and talked about quality and talked about testing and talked about how I thought all this should work. And the reaction was, oh, thank goodness, we've always wanted to do things this way. We never had the time. We never had the budget. It was always, what do you have to do quick, now, to get that feature, to land that deal, to raise the next round of funding. And so this is so great that we have the organizational support and the financial support to really do this stuff right. I thought, great, this is going to be a slam dunk.
This is Rocky on the bridge. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like your feature velocity suffers for that rigorous testing? Not that it's a bad thing, but it sounds like quality over new features might be how you get there.
Oh man, this is a deep answer to this question. We'll use more time than I have. Love the question. The short version is you've got to look at feature velocity in terms of feature latency and feature throughput. It's just like networking, right? What's the speed of a network? The network is slow, the network is fast. Okay, there's latency, there's throughput, right? Which one are we talking about? And it's the same with features in software. And if you set your internal systems up right, you can actually improve both of these through the quality focus. Because what the quality focus does is there's this long tail at our competitors of trying to get the software to actually ship and actually not crash. And we've overlapped that tail with our ongoing trunk development and merge process by continually testing both the single shared trunk of all of our development and also individually testing every PR, every proposed change with the same automated test environment. And so we just get much more quickly to the point where we have actually working integrated code. Now, it does mean that your software engineers end up spending 40% of their time writing the code and 60% of their time writing the tests, okay? Because writing these tests is a major investment. And I actually believe that that corpus of tests, 350,000 plus test cases, which enable me to put a switch in a rack and tell within 2 days that switch is working, like really working, like ready to deploy in production. This is a capability that that may be the single most valuable piece of intellectual property at our company, okay? So if it takes commitment, it takes investment, and you do have to hire, obviously, more developers, but you can actually improve both the throughput and the latency of feature development if you're thoughtful and get these systems all working together properly. So let's see, so I was talking about getting into the campus business, acquiring Mojo, and for those of you who have experience here with acquisitions, which I had none at the time, I'm sure we're laughing to yourself about this idea that I could just go in, make some nice statements, get some nice feedback, and think everything was going to be fine. And because it didn't work at all. Like, people went back to their desks and went right back to doing the thing they were already doing. And I really want to be careful here to stress This is not a failure of the people, okay? You've been at a company for 15 years, you've got 150 coworkers, and you all do things a certain way. Changing that is hard. It's not something that one person can do. So that good intentions and even a good understanding of like what the vision is not enough. It takes consistent and constant pushing, asking every week, where are we? How did you handle that bug? Did you add a new test? Oh, you didn't. Why not? Oh, we're missing some test infrastructure. What's the easiest way to expose that root cause? Just working with people, giving examples, just reinforcing the message every week. And because it affects every part of the organization. It affects the way sales and engineering relate, the way product management and engineering relate. I mean, you have to go and sort of reprogram all those relationships. And it took a long time. And I am happy to say that we are now at a point where all of the new development is being done Arista core, okay? Fully automated testing, every feature comes with this new tests, every escalation results in a bug fix, gets a new test that comes along with that. All those things are happening. Now, I cannot look you in the eye and swear that our Wi-Fi stack is up to the EOS level of quality. I think it's surpassed the industry typical level of quality. But there's still, I believe, a gap between where we are with Wi-Fi and where we are with EOS. And that gap is primarily because of the 15-year history of not having been developing those tests all along. But over time, as we continue to iterate on this, it's going to converge up and have the same level of 90% better quality that our customers expect of EOS. So I'm really happy with the progress and the trajectory there. And I'm grateful to the team. Oh, I should, there's the culture, the architecture, and the testing. I believe the cultural transition is now complete. The testing, as I mentioned, is sort of, you know, there's all the new stuff is being done right, and there's an old tail that will evolve over time. And in terms of the architecture, I think Sri already mentioned this, we now have some of the core EOS architectural elements on our access points, which architecture does matter. Culture and testing come above, but architecture counts too. And we are making some good progress there as well. So we'll talk more about that later in the session.
Yes, for the course of 2024, how will Arista define success in the Wi-Fi access point realm? What can we expect in terms of milestones, progress?
How do we define success? For me personally, not exactly what you asked, but I'm not sure I'm prepared to articulate a corporate definition of success. So I'll do a personal one instead, if that's okay.
Sure.
For me personally, success means first and foremost, good customer experience.
Okay.
It's super important that our existing customers are having a great experience with our Wi-Fi systems, that new customers are able to adopt them easily. I am way more interested in that than I am about any particular business metric or volume. Our volume's relatively small, no secret. And for me personally, I don't worry about that. Partly because I don't have to, because that's like my boss's job, and like I can play in my nerd corner and like be blissfully ignorant. But partly because I believe that the business success comes after the customer success. So I'm really focused on our customers having a good experience. I meet monthly with the hack lead, our support lead in the Wi-Fi area, to understand what is the gestalt of it's much harder than you might think to get good data about what your product quality is, because counting bugs doesn't do it. Counting cases doesn't do it. There's a sense, and the only way I know of to get that sense is talking to people who are really immersed in the day-to-day. And so what I'm expecting is a continued improvement, where my goal is that the support leads come to me and say, yeah, we see a very similar level of customer experience between EOS and our Wi-Fi systems. That's what success looks like to me.
Very helpful.